It's so cute.
Do Cookie Smut.
Hi friends, my name is Shauna, aka Cookie Smut. I make videos about baking and crafting. If that sounds fun, you should go ahead and subscribe now. This week I have another rug tufting video for you. Even though last week I said I was going to do a baking video this week, I lied to you. So sorry. It's not really gonna be like a step-by-step tutorial, just a nice, relaxing time lapse of how I made this red panda rug. It's really more of a pink panda, actually, but yeah. It's so cute. Okay, so before we get into the rug making, you might be wondering, why a red panda? Okay, so you know that game that you play within a friend group where you go around the circle and you say which animal everyone is? And I'm not talking about like someone saying, oh, this is what I think my Patronus is. No, none of that. I'm talking about like the group activity where everyone kind of argues over why like this person's personality trait means that they're a bird and this person's physical characteristics makes them a horse, and then like your friend Todd gets randomly offended because everyone unanimously decided that he's a baboon. That's what I'm talking about. You see, when I play that game with my friends, no one has ever said that I'm a red panda. I just think that they should. Okay, check this out. Red pandas are solitary creatures, except when mating. Mating. They are nocturnal, largely sedentary during the day. They are very territorial, marking their space with urine or musk secreted from their anal glands. Classic Shauna. But in all seriousness, I made a red panda because red pandas are just an animal that I am always coming back to draw. What I want to do in general in my art and my crafts is to draw cute, stylized, illustrative animals, but I'm still very much in the development stage of my style. And honestly, I'm still in the development stage of me knowing how to draw at all. I watched this YouTube video from Bardo Brush about how to start from reference photos, boil down the essence of an animal in order to draw a stylized version of it. So that's an exercise that I've been doing with red pandas. The reason I've chosen the red panda as an animal of focus for me is because they're super, super cute. They're Chinese, and I haven't really seen too many other people drawing them. You see, many illustrators whose work I love, they draw really, really cute animals. If I drew one of the animals they draw, I might be tempted to copy bits and pieces of their style, either consciously or subconsciously. For example, I love Lee Ellickson's work. She draws lots of super, super cute tigers, and I'd be afraid that if I drew a tiger, it might be too much influenced by her tigers. I haven't really seen anyone else draw red pandas, so I draw red pandas.
You hear that? Red pandas are mine. I call dibs, and I'm not afraid to get litigious.
So let me show you how I made this red panda rug. Here's some of the sketching that I did in Procreate. As you can see, I start with my reference photo, actually tracing them. I think tracing is a totally valid way to learn. It's kind of like building up muscle memory for drawing those shapes. Those things include the shape of its face being such a wide oval, it's almost like a rounded rectangle, the size and angle of those big cute ears, the cheek tufts and the little eyebrow tufts, and the shape of the eye, which I also exaggerate in size for my version of the red panda. Actually, I just remembered now that Agresico is a red panda, but I actually don't think that my red panda really looks that much like Agresico, so like maybe I don't have to worry too much about accidentally copying someone else's style. I guess I can draw tigers now. Using my projector, I trace the image onto my fabric with a Sharpie. I'm going to be using 3 different colors of yarn, so I also annotate each little section with 1, 2, or 3 to indicate which yarn I'm going to use so I don't forget later. On my Ouroboros rug, which I finished recently, I had to pluck out and retuft essentially half of the entire rug because I kept mixing up my different shades of pink, so I really didn't want to repeat that for this one. And now for the tufting. A question I get a lot is how long does tufting take? So I have an hour and a half of tufting footage here, and I even forgot to film a couple sections, so this rug took over an hour and a half for just the tufting part alone. I started out by using just one strand of worsted weight yarn in my gun, and my thinking behind this had two parts. So number one, this piece has some smaller areas, more detailed areas, and I was thinking having just one strand, aka a thinner line, would help me in achieving the precision necessary for those small detailed sections. And my other reason was you can either tuft with fewer strands, aka thinner lines, and tuft them closer together, or you can tuft with more strands, thicker lines, further apart. And my thinking was thinner lines closer together would produce a more even rug texture and look. But if you remember from my tufting mistakes video from last week, you'll know that anytime the needle of the gun passes through the fabric, it leaves lots of gaps behind and it weakens the fabric there. So putting thinner lines closer together, I found was putting kind of unnecessary stress on the fabric. It made me much more prone to shredding the fabric. So I switched over to using two strands of my worsted weight yarn at a time, and I'm absolutely never going back. I'm always going to use two strands of worsted weight yarn from now on. And that concern I had about achieving the amount of detail and precision with two strands of yarn was completely unfounded. I tufted the highlights on the eyes and the nose of the panda using the two strands, and for the eye highlights, I literally just stitched, I think, one or two stitches in one of the places, and it came out looking totally great, I think, and having a really, really fine level of detail. So I recommend at least two strands of worsted weight yarn, or however many strands of your yarn that would equal that thickness. There are plenty of yarn thickness converters out there if you need to figure that out for yourself. You'll see me occasionally coming to the front of the rug and checking it. At this point, I'm not actually checking for how much I've stayed inside the lines or not. I'll clean that up later. At this point, I'm just checking the fullness of the rug to make sure I haven't left any gaps, and if I have, fill them in. Then I come in and clean up my lines by plucking out any pieces of yarn that are out of place with a pair of tweezers. I realized I should have shaved it at least a tiny bit first, because after shaving it down, some of the yarn placement will look a little different, but I do eventually shave it down and then give it another once over with my tweezers. Then it is time to glue. I am using Special Effects latex here. I'm still learning about glues, and I haven't even tried carpet glue yet because I wasn't able to purchase any until very recently, but I vastly prefer latex over PVA. If you're looking to try latex, I'll link what I'm using below, but you can also look for the words high viscosity and mask making in different product descriptions. If you buy it by the gallon, it's actually not that much more than a gallon of AAT 1132 plus shipping. After the latex dries overnight, I cut it down and it's time to finish. I trim the excess fabric down to about 3/4 of an inch and just hot glue it down. You know you're a serious tufter when you purchase the 300 pack of hot glue sticks. I had to glue down the entire piece in teeny tiny sections because essentially the whole thing has either curved or zigzag edges. The little cheek tufts were the worst. I mean, it looks cool, but hot damn, it took forever. I was watching Superstore while finishing the rug, and I think I watched 3, if not 4 episodes while doing all of these finishing steps, so that's another hour to hour and a half to finish. But my piece definitely took way long to finish because of all my crazy curved and zigzag edges. I forgot to film me covering the raw edges with twill tape and even more hot glue, so I'm showing a different rug instead. The only real thing to note here is that when I get to sharp corners and curves, I cut the tape at an angle on both sides so that they meet and lay perfectly flush and flat. Then it's time for the final trim. Not only do I shave the surface with my clippers so it's nice and even, but I also bevel the edges for a cleaner look. And again, this took forever because of all of those corners. I do a final trim around the edges with my scissors, give it a good vacuum, and then it is done. This is my finished rug. I love it so much. I'm very happy with the design. I'm very pleased to have made my own little stylized red panda. I'm very happy with the colors. Honestly, making these edges, these like sharp, tiny little pointed cheek tufts was kind of a pain in the ass. Not so much during the tufting process, but definitely in the finishing it. In folding down and gluing down these edges and covering it with tool tape, there was just a lot of like cutting everything at small angles and gluing down tiny little sections at a time. I'm happy to put that kind of effort into a piece that I'm going to hang on my wall, or if I was making this as a gift for someone that I love. But if I were to try and make these to sell, I just think the amount of extra labor in doing that is not going to be worth either my time or my customers' money. I'm not sure people would want to pay for that much extra labor. So I would probably simplify or round out a lot of these edges. And I think that the inner design, like even if this were super rounded, I think that the details in the inner colors and inner pieces would still be enough to give you that overall effect and pretty much still be the same design, but be a lot less labor and therefore much cheaper for a customer. I am working on, I don't know, actually starting to sell these. I'm trying to figure out how logistically I want to do it. If you're interested in buying one of these, let me know, either like in a comment or you can DM me on Instagram, etc. But yeah, I absolutely adore this thing. I think it's, I don't know, every time I look at it, it's so cute. I feel like every time I do a rug tufting video, I'm just like, look at how good I did. But I think it's okay to be proud of your own work. And yeah, I love it so much. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs, subscribe, do all that stuff, please. I'm an itty bitty baby channel. I need you. I need your support. If you want to see photos of the rugs that I've been making, you can find those on Instagram. I also post somewhat often on TikTok. This time I'm not lying. Next week I am making a baking video. It's going to be related to the fashion from the movie Empire Records. So you should definitely check that out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Hey friends, thanks for watching. Do all the things, and see you next time.